Can you tell us your name and your date of birth?
I was Alison Murdoch, I'm now Alison Reynolds. I was born the 24th of June 1949.
And whereabouts was you born?
The prefabs in Millfield Estate, the council estate. Grandparents lived at the top, which I think is Cluny Road, but they had prefabs, a set of prefabs at the bottom, but they, obviously now have put, they put council houses, I don't know how many years ago, quite a lot of years ago.
What was life like in the prefabs? Was it cold or?
No, we actually thought we got a little palace really. We've got a bathroom, we've got hot water. We were quite happy there. But I think it was decided that the prefabs would come down, so Mum and Dad were given a house or moved into Hatch Street with no bathroom, no running hot water, no inside toilet. It was quite, basic is the word, basic.
What were your parents' names?
Margaret May, which was Margaret May Wood, and my dad was John Murdoch. Well, Dad met Mum at the Institute Hall because that's where the dances were, and he came in from Canterbury and they used to have dances there. My dad would be out on the floor, he was a dancer.
How many children did they have?
Well, first me, and then my sister Aileen, then my brother Andrew came along, and then my sister Angela, and then my sister Claire, and then Ian.
What was the occupations of your parents?
Well, Mum, before she worked in the Home and Colonial, I think, one of the shop, and then Dad worked for the Co-op Dairy from when we were very tiny. He worked for the Co-op Dairy, which was in Newton, is now our GP surgery at Newton Place.
Did he retire there?
No, he didn't. Eventually, because all that changed, he worked over at Marley's in Lenham.
Names of your schools?
Davington Primary School. Great time, had a great time there. When we were 11, obviously we had to change and go to secondary school, and then I went to the Lady Capel School.
Did you go to the cinema, things like that? What did you do to pass the time?
We used to go to Saturday morning. I remember Saturday morning at the cinema, and we used to all sing along. In fact, my husband found that little song that we all used to sing. We get in the cinema, and we even had games and things, walking around with paper cups on your head. It was great. And Jean Autry was it we had every week, and William Tell, and it was really good. So Saturday morning pictures we used to go to. But in the week, you couldn't, there wasn't the money to go to expensive things, but there was always the brownies, the Gospel Mission always had holiday activities going on, completely free. So we spent a lot of time down in Tanner Street.
What was the town like growing up?
Trying to think really. It was completely run by a co-op. Every shop seemed to be co-op, furniture, the butchers, just everything, dairy was co-op, which was great. You were given a number, Mum had her number, 4711, and then of course, so you used all that, and at Christmas then, there will be, Mum could go out and get things, for Christmas, so it was really good when it was all run by the co-op. Of course, Dad worked at the dairy, which was great. And then I think as I got older, I got to know we had a wet fish shop in Preston Street, Jackson's, and we had a fish and chip shop in West Street, just down from the bookshop. But there was another chip shop, and that was it Emptages in Partridge Lane? To be honest, well, we had shoe shops then. We had Freeman, Hardy and Willis. We had a little shoe shop down West Street that was very good, right down at the bottom over the crossing just in there. So we could always get shoes in the town, which is very difficult now.
We were talking about the fields the other day when your mum goes out
they're
out
good
the
memories.
Fields. So what did you and your brothers and sisters and all the other children do?
Well, we used to be collected by a lorry that would come along with a drop-down back, 2 sort of benches at the side, and the adults, that they'd have 2 or 3 stops around the town. So Mum would just walk to the nearest stop, and they'd get us on. They'd put the prams, because babies went as well. They'd put the prams in the middle, and off we'd go. We thought we were on holiday, and obviously strawberry picking was always June. In the summer, hop picking was September. So before we started school, we were out the hop fields. And it was great. We loved it. It seemed like holiday time, and it was healthy. There were no portaloos or anything like that, but we all got by. I think it was dock leaves. We didn't even have newspaper. We wouldn't have toilet rolls, would you? You know? And in fact, one memory, oh my, our outside toilet, newspaper used to be cut up and a piece of string threaded through, hung on a nail in the toilet. And nobody thought any different. That's what you had. But the best time was when, probably about 16, I was about 16. No, I must have been 18. My brother was at work, just started work, and he met, well, we didn't know, but he suddenly came home from work and he bought a tin of white paint, and he went out to the toilet, cleaned it all out and painted it white. We were amazed. A week later he said, oh, I'm bringing a girl home. He did it specially because he wanted to bring this lovely girl that he'd met, who did become our sister-in-law and is still our sister-in-law. She's a lovely girl, yeah.
How did the news flow in your neighbourhood?
Oh, very much neighbours, new neighbours, and they used to say things went round like wildfire, but they did. We all communicated. We didn't have telephones. I don't think we even had a television when I was born, not at all. So people used to come out, sit in their gardens with cups of tea and talk over the fences. And I do remember when we were in Hatch Street, our next door neighbour, Mrs Fisher and Mum, you know, when one of them had a baby, they'd make cakes and things and bring them round, and they really were good at helping each other out. Neighbours were truly neighbours, yeah.
When you was at school, what did you want to do when you left school?
Well, by the time I left secondary school, I would have liked to have been a PE teacher, because sitting down was never me. I had to be up and doing. But really, being the eldest of 6 children, I needed to get out to work, as we all did really. You know, it's a real struggle for Mum and Dad. If my dad had a 10-shilling note in his wallet, he thought he was well off. So it just wasn't going to happen that way at all. So I still played netball for Kent, even though I started work. And I mean, there was never a problem. We stayed on and did a secretarial course at school. But I wasn't really into that too much. So when I opened the newspaper and there was an office junior wages clerk, figures, definitely me, much more figures, and I went to Roots in Canterbury, car company, Roots Car Company, as a junior. Absolutely loved it. It got taken over by Chrysler, and then I think it ended up being Canterbury Motor Company, but the Americans came in, by which time I kind of thought I might work back in town to stop the train journey. So I went to BMN Western, and I think I was there 3 months maybe, and it was great. I liked it there. But then the company I'd been working for, the senior person had gone, and they offered me way more money and a very senior position. So I went back to them until we had started a family.
So you started a family, and then was that the end of your work?
Yes, it was
career,
really.
sort of?
Yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. And he was working. He just left and was working for Shippenine.
Tell me how Dennis popped the question, or did you pop the question?
No, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I think I don't know. There wasn't a moment, because in those days you didn't go out for a meal or anything like that. I think we just went along a road and thought, yeah, this could go. So he bought an engagement ring on the 13th of March. And we got engaged and then married 2 years, September. Yeah, he had to save up for a wedding.
Yeah.
There was definitely no spare cash around. And we wanted obviously to try and get a deposit for a house, which we just about managed for a little house in St John's Road, 2 up, 2 down.
Tell me about your wedding ceremony. What year was it? Where was it?
1969, and it was at the Baptist Church. Den's family had always been involved at the Baptist Church. We had gone there as well. Again, teenagers, the youth club they had. We all went to youth clubs really. They didn't cost you anything, so we got quite involved at the Baptist Church, and we married there. And then we had our reception at Delbridge House, which was lovely. Really got an amazing staircase, and the couple that now own it have renovated it actually. And they did say come back and have a picture taken on the stairs. Of course, then COVID hit, so we haven't done that yet, but we will.
You're a Baptist then, or?
Yeah, Dan, my husband, and his family, the Reynolds, they were at the Baptist Church. I don't know if they met there, but they worked for Edward Vincent, the farmers. So they were in the farm cottage in Love Lane, and the Vincents were very involved with the church and sponsored and things that happened at the Baptist Church. They've been very good, very, very good. In fact, the big organ in the church that's still there, that was bought by Edward Vincent, Edward and Doris.
Are you still involved with the church?
Yes, yeah.
The Baptist Church?
Yes. Yeah. Jeff Cook is the minister there, and he's my chaplain as mayor this year, these last 3 years. He's been the mayor's chaplain. So, and we had the civic service there, which was quite unknown. Normally, obviously, it is in the parish church, but it worked out really well because Simon Rowlands was on sabbatical, just going on sabbatical, and so we had it at the Baptist Church.
You had 2 girls.
Yes.
How many grandchildren?
4. One had 1 and one had 3.
So you started a gymnastic club?
Well, 1979, October, our eldest daughter was 7, and she had to move from Ethelbert Road Junior School when they were 7 to the district school, and that's where her new teacher was Darryl Trosh, and he was doing an after-school gymnastics club, which really made me stand up. And he said, I'm going to open it up to the town, hired QE's sports hall. And so, October 1979, 100 parents queued up with their child to go to gymnastic class. And so I was in coaching from the start really, and definitely it was obviously my passion still. And it was great being able to coach twice a week, and then moved it to Solomon's Lane. We were up there a lot of years, and it became quite unsafe really. The ceiling was falling down, the walls were coming in, it was just, and we'd asked Swale for 15 years, our sports centre, and they'd say when we've done Sheerness, when we've done Sittingbourne, it was our turn. Found the land, or rail track land, Darryl found that and said come and look at this. So Swale bought the land off rail track. Plans were drawn for our Faversham Sports Centre, 3 badminton courts, 2 squash courts and gymnastic area, and big car park. The railings and those trees were taken out right to the recreation ground, and the plans looked fantastic. And then Swale said, haven't got the money. It was really, really devastating because the church hall was really on its last legs. So Darryl then decided, we tried long enough really, he had, and so he stopped. I could not let that stop. The hundreds of children were coming. It was absolutely brilliant. So I said to Swale, what do we do now? And so we wound it up as Darryl's business, set it up as a charity again, and Swale did a bid to Sport England. We had to do our part, went with that, but it failed. So they didn't get the money to build us a sports centre. But after a battle again. They said we'll put a 30-metre building up, 25-year lease, fully repairing, maintaining, you take it on. I thought that was quite unfair because Sheerness, Sittingbourne are all subsidised centres. We were going to get nothing, but I felt it was worth a try. So, of course, going to Sport England then, knowing we've got an empty building, another bid, I don't think Swell will ever know how close I came to just nearly giving up. Sat on Seasalter Beach doing the last lot of paperwork saying, I just can't do this anymore. It was my husband said, you're close, you're really close. So finished it, and yes, we did. We got the 250,000 from Sport England to equip the gymnastic area. But Faversham people, we did fundraiser upon fundraiser, and I had good donations from people, and we put an adventure play in because that was very needed in our town, but it was also something that parents could afford to come to if they couldn't do the structured classes, which were that much more expensive because you had to have qualified staff. And so we just about managed to get enough funds together, and that was Faversham people did that, to put the adventure play in. And that for me was a business plan that I knew could work. And so, yeah, we opened it at weekends for parties and private hires, and it financially worked really well. And we managed to get enough in through the till, no grants, no loans, no anything, and built an extension all down the side with a party room, a fitness room, extra space for seating for the adventure play. And then we built another one the other side. Over £1 million came through the till, surplus to be able to do that.
And what year did it all, so when you finally opened?
We opened it February 2003, so be 20 years old next year.
You was awarded the British Empire Medal when?
2018.
And why was you awarded it?
For services to sport in Kent. For establishing that. It is a fantastic facility. You know, miles around haven't got that. Whitstable, Herne Bay, Sittingbourne, they haven't got purpose-built, sprung floor, trampolines in the floor. It is just a brilliant facility. But not only that, leaving the church hall, I went back there the week after, stood there on my own and thought, how did we make this gym club work? It was falling down round our ears, but I realised then it's the people in that made it, the people that were there. You know, material, the facility is great in Jubilee Centre, but it's crucial how it's run, who runs it, how they run it for the community. It was a community gym club.
How did they find out about you, like the people who awarded the medal?
The medal. Well, unbeknown to me, I got a letter one November saying that I'd been nominated for this award. But you're not allowed to tell anyone, only your PA, if you've got a PA. So I didn't say anything to anyone. And then that was November, and then my sister-in-law was very, very ill with cancer and in intensive care, and things didn't go that well for her, and she had to stay in right near to Christmas. And I remember thinking one afternoon, talking to her on the phone, trying to cheer her up, and I said, Julie, I've had a letter. I said, but I'm not allowed to tell anyone, you mustn't tell anyone. This letter, I said, I don't know what it means. I've been nominated, but that doesn't mean I will get anything. And she just said, Alison, you need to tell Aileen. Why would I need to tell my other sister? So anyway, I thought, no, I can't, because it says don't tell anyone. So that night, the phone rang, and it was my sister Aileen on the phone, crying. She had been trying for 2 years and writing to whoever she could, telling them what I'd done. And anyway, she eventually, my youngest sister Claire said to her, so she didn't hear the first year, second year, and if you don't get a response, I think after 2 years, then it's not going to happen. So she was, I didn't know, she was getting really, and Claire said, go to CQ Robertson, our MP, who was, well, into sport big time, Pew, and he's now the chairman of the Olympic Committee. So she contacted Hugh Robertson and he came back immediately. Of course I will. So that was good. And he said, but you've got to do all the footwork, donkey work. So she got report from the sports development officer from the South East region who had seen what we've been doing for years. She got great recommendations from other people and collected it together and gave it to Hugh Robertson, and he put it in. He said to her, don't give up, I know it's your third time, but we'd had the Olympics and everything, and so all the sporting awards were going out. There weren't going to be extra awards. But it went through with his recommendation. So I've got all those lovely, lovely things that people said. What your letter says is that you go on some London Gazette on the 27th, I think it was, of December. But that night, we all sat here, and at about 10 o'clock, I just told them then, I said, we just need to look at this list. So they got their laptops out, and yes, my name was on the list. They were so pleased. But what really pleased me, yes, the family were pleased, of course they were. They knew how many years and how much I put in. But I got back all that I put in, and it was when people in the town were so pleased. You know, our neighbours down the road, she looks at this list every year to see. She ran up to her husband, it's Alison. And so I realised then I didn't need a medal, but it was good that other people thought it was great that someone that had done something like that got the medal. So no, it all turned out fine, and I had a lovely ceremony, and my brothers and sisters came down on the day I got the medal, and obviously they can't come in, but we all went off for a lovely celebration meal. We had a meal together.
Who awarded your medal?
It was Lieutenant Delisle, the Queen's Lieutenant, gave out the British Empire medals.
How did you become mayor?
Wow. You might like to tell me that. I'm not quite sure. It wasn't on my plan for the future. Den and I both retired from the gym, probably earlier than we wanted to, but we decided it was the right time, and then we were lost. What were we going to do? You know, I'd been doing that 7 days a week. It was totally my baby, if you like, and a phone call came from Mike Henderson, Lib Dem, and he said, Alison, we've heard you've retired, would you stand for the council? And I said immediately, Mike, I do not have a political bone in my body. I care about Faversham and the people of Faversham. He said, that's all you need. And so I thought about it and thought, I need something to do. Yes, I will. I'll come and deliver leaflets all through the winter. That'll keep me busy. Didn't expect to get elected. That was unbelievable. But suddenly you're elected. And then, of course, we were all new councillors. And so I was the eldest. Probably the only one retired as well, with some time. So they asked, would I be the mayor? And to be honest, that I didn't realise. I had no idea what a privilege it would be. I just said, well, yes, I'll do that. And especially when they said, well, then you don't really have to be political. And it's been fabulous, absolutely fabulous. It was divine intervention, as I said at the mayor making. It was not on my plan, on someone's plan, but not mine. So, no, it's been brilliant.
How was it being there in the lockdown? Because you'd just taken over
I know.
and started it.
Obviously, it restricted things, but I've always been a community person, so any little gaps we had between lockdowns and that allowed me to go and visit different groups in the town, and it was just been fabulous because it's meant that I've got to go to every corner of our community, small little groups, committees that have had fundraisers or celebrations. They've invited me along. I think for me it's just been fabulous 2 years. Yeah. I like the civic. I absolutely love the civic duties. I think I've been in every church in the town at their feast days or special days, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. I've been out of town and met with the Cinqueport mayors. I had no idea how that worked. We are part of the Cinqueports. Faversham is a limb of Dover, and wow, we're a Cinqueport. Oh, right, you know. So, and when us mayors met, it was questions I would ask. What are you doing for your homeless? How are you tackling that? What have you got in place for your youth? Ideas, just want ideas to bring back to Faversham, or they often picked up our good ideas as well, you know. In fact, most times I think we've kind of been the forerunner of lots of things actually. So no, those events have been good, but community events have been by far the best.
What is your favourite event in town?
In town, well, it's got to be the Hop Festival weekend. I mean, that has memories for us as well, because when our daughter, they were emigrating on the Monday, and on the Sunday of the Hop Festival weekend, we didn't know what we were going to do. We just didn't know how to, didn't want them to go, obviously. But we had a lovely afternoon over at the recreation ground. They had all the Morris dancing groups came over and performed, and we sat, had drinks, the weather was lovely. It was just a perfect afternoon. So that helped us fill that gap till they went. But the last year it happened, the committee took me as mayor round to every venue that was open, and I just think it was brilliant. The mayors came in from out of town on the Saturday. They couldn't believe it. They just would have loved it to have been happening in their towns. And I just think this committee, they'd worked it out brilliantly. They'd got music down West Street in the Purifier. There was a group, the Pearly Kings and Queens, and guitarists down there. They'd spread it out all round the town. They'd got the main stage in the car park in the corner there. That was so much better than being in the town centre with the congestion. They really had done a great job at that one, and clearly, hopefully it will be. It's got to come back this year.
What will you do when you step down from being mayor?
That is a really good question. That is really good, because I said to you, I had no idea how well I would be received, how encouraged I've been, how pleased these groups have been. I have to say mostly because they'd been through the gym club over the 39 years, and they got a mayor they knew, which really pleased them. And so, yeah, it's in fact the first door that Mike Henderson knocked on to say we were canvassing and I was a new candidate, the lady said to him, "You do know this lady is a Faversham treasure," and that just said it all to me. All the gym club, I didn't realise how many from the community came through. Apparently it was anyone who moved to the town, you need to go to the gym club, they'd say, and it was great, you know. So I don't know quite what the next year will bring. Obviously I've got one more year as a councillor. They've asked will I stand again, but really my husband will be, if we stand, you've got a 4-year, and he'll be nearly 80 then, and I'm not far behind, and I think that's perhaps a bit too late to do that. So 1 more year, and hopefully just do what we can in the community.
What will you do after then, once you've stopped being a candidate? Hobbies or?
Well, I don't know, then 78 then. On me, I will probably pick up and do some more sewing again. I've kind of stopped doing as much of that. I will join the WI, I hope my name's on their list. And I'm now a trustee of the Cottage Hospital, so I will help with their fundraisers and things. Also a trustee for the municipal charities. I've only just been signed up to that, and I'm very impressed with how that all works. So I'd like to be working with them. And West Faversham Community Centre. So I can see there's so much to be involved with. I find it hard when people say there is nothing to do. Well, actually, there's a lot we can do, but I suppose you've got to go out and find it and make it happen. But no, U3A, my next door neighbour, she's very involved with University of the Third Age, that group. They do some really good things. There is plenty to be doing. I'm sure we're not going to just sit and do nothing.
What do you like the most?
Where else can be better? I mean, Perth, Australia, that daughter, Jersey, the Channel Islands, that daughter. But you still have got to do your housework, you know, your cooking, you've got to do all your chores, wherever you are. And I just think we've got it all. We've got a line into London, 1 hour, we can be in the big city on the train, great train connections. 5 minutes, we can be down to Seasalter. You can even walk the route to Seasalter. We've got our gunpowder works over this side, our fleur-de-lis, our maison Dieu. We've got history, we've got lovely areas to walk, we've got great communications to the coast, to the London. I don't know, there's a better place to be.
What changes do you miss?
What changes do I miss? I'm a person that believes change, it has to evolve. You can't just stay where you were. If only we could take computers away from our grandchildren, I'd love it. Their lives would be simpler. They would, but we can't do that. We've got to go and let things evolve. So no good saying it's great, we've got our history, that's amazing, keep that, but you can't make things stay as they were. So if you don't adapt and go with the changes, then I think you can become quite sad, really. But you can't hang on to that, you can't. You've just got to evolve things, and as long as we're positive about it, it will be fine. This town has doubled in size since I was a child. It's double the size it was, but I still think it's a brilliant town.
And then what changes have been for the better?
Well, I think now, look at all our events, our festivals we put on. You know, our transport festival, had that a few years, that's an amazing weekend. The Hop Festival, the Literary Festival's just finished. All these things have evolved. They weren't around when I was a child. The only one that was the Carnival. We had our Carnival then, and look how long that's gone. I mean, it's amazing. That's an all year round project. I've got to know Sylvia Lawrence, who's been, I think, 25 years running that whole year round project. It's amazing. In fact, we felt really proud, the mayors that came in this year, how she got a carnival together for us in a short time because of lockdown. We didn't know, couldn't we? It was just amazing, and I think the whole community came out and it gave us all such a lift. And all the while we've got these things happening. The biggest thing I noticed as a child, I think I said to you, we used to swim in our creek, down by the bridge, have a swim around. Wouldn't do that now. But when our swimming pool came, that was just amazing. We are very fortunate to have such a great swimming pool outdoors in the summer as well as indoor. So, you know, I don't think some people say, oh, the good old times. I remember my grandmother saying that. I remember my mother saying that. And I try and say to them, they were great times, but we've got great times now. This is now. You can't hanker over what the past. Yes, you had good times, but these are good times. Even with the pandemic. we've got through, and it has shown people at their very best, helping each other, making things happen. The food bank, things that have happened have been amazing, really. So not all bad. There's been some good aspects come out of it. Yeah.
Right, that's just finished it very nicely. Thank you, Alison.